What's good out there, Liquid Trucking? Welcome into episode 48 of the Liquid Trucking Podcast. And I'm getting a little bit, mysterious and angry and mean and trying to make myself sound like it's our Halloween episode on the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I'm not very good at I've got a good voice, but I can't really do I'm no Sam Elliott. Okay, let's put it that way. Everybody knows that one. Like, Sam Elliott could read you a phone book and you'd fall asleep peacefully. Or he could get, super angry and deep and booming and, he'd basically narrate a thunderstorm. I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. I tried. But it is our spooky season episode. It's our Halloween special here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast, and I'm pretty excited about it because coming up here in a few minutes, I'm going to be talking to 3 drivers that get particularly excited about Halloween. And we're going to jump into all sorts of stuff with them. Going to talk to them about their superstitions, any experiences that they might have had out there on the road, any haunting type experiences. When I was preparing for this episode, I was digging through Reddit and trying to find haunted stories and such. And what's interesting is one of the threads that I was reading about has to do with a black dog. And one of the guys we're going to talk to here in a little bit, Drew Hearn, is going to tell us a story about said black dog. And what was crazy about it is when this guy told this story in the Reddit thread, he talked about seeing this black dog. He slowed down until he almost got to it. He stopped, and then there was nothing there. That kind of seems to be the MO for whatever this thing might be. And hey, I'll tell you something right now before I go any further with this. Suspend a little bit of disbelief for this episode, okay? Have some fun with it. Have an open mind. We're not trying to convince you that all this, paranormal stuff is real here as much as we're just trying to have a fun conversation about it. So remember that going in. And anyway, getting back to this, I was looking at this Reddit thread about this black dog and this driver talking about it being there and then it's not there. And something I want you to make the connection with that Drew's going to talk about, the first comment after that guy's story was, it's time for you to take a week off. And I kind of laughed at that at first. It's like, yeah, dude, you're seeing things in the road. Maybe you should take a week off and kind of relax a little bit. But I learned later in this episode that that's not the reason. And there is a very specific and distinct reason that this guy should take some time off. So real interesting stuff we've got here. Also going to talk a little bit about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, if you will. That's where I live. I'm up here in Bigfoot country, and I know we got a lot of drivers that live out there and around the Appalachian Mountains out east, and that's also a hot spot for Bigfoot activity, quote, quote. So it's going to be a really fun conversation. Towards the end of the episode, I am going to read you a story that I found. A former FBI agent actually just dropped a new book, and it's called Long Haul: Hunting the Highway Serial Killers. And I've got in this news article, I've got a few excerpts from the book. I've got some quotes from the guy and some stats about bodies being found along our highways and byways here in the United States. So listen, it's kind of a freaky episode. It's a paranormal episode. It's a Halloween episode. We're trying to have a little bit of fun. We hope that you'll come along with us for that. So without further ado, let's get to Donut, Mike, and Drew to talk about some spooky stuff.
Welcome to the gold standard of podcasts for the gold standard of drivers. This is the Liquid Trucking Podcast with your host, Marcus Bridges.
All right, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a little while now because, we talk about it all the time on the podcast. We've got serious stuff we've got to talk about. We've got company updates. We've got safety things. We've got, winter driving preparedness. But we also get to have some fun on this podcast from time to time. And since today is our spooky-themed episode, I've brought 3 drivers on that wanted to come on here and just talk to me about everything that spooky season encompasses and maybe even some things that you don't think about when you're thinking Halloween. First off, want to welcome back Liquid driver Drew Hearn. It's been a while since we've had you on. Drew, how you doing out there?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Cool as the breeze.
Nice. Where are you at? Where are you headed?
Right now I'm in Wilmot, South Dakota, heading up to Wahpeton, North Dakota.
Okay, so you're out there kind of in no man's land. It could get a little spooky out there if you're driving after dark.
Oh yeah, it gets a little spooky out here, especially you see the tractor headlights off in the distance, because it is harvest season.
Yep. Okay, I like that. Next up, joining us here, another gentleman that's been on this podcast quite a few times. We've got Mike Stanfield. What's up, Mike? How you doing out there?
What it do? Doing good.
Where are you at? Where are you headed?
I'm in Arkansas, heading to Russellville, then up to Oklahoma.
Okay, well, Arkansas, not to offend anybody that might be from there, but kind of a scary state, if I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't spent too much time there, but, it's you could get lost in Arkansas. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, the only thing scary about it is driving at night in the hills.
Okay, so yeah, kind of because those hills have eyes, I assume, and we'll get to horror movies here in just a little bit. I want to welcome our third driver here. His name is Michael Duncan. He's been on the podcast a couple times before, but today, since we've got two Mike Michaels in here, we're going by his CB handle, so please welcome Donut to the show. Donut, glad to have you back.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
And where are you at and where are you headed today, Donut?
Currently, I'm driving through Colville, Utah, and I'm headed out to Vernali, California.
Wow. Okay, so we've got this place covered. I mean, we've got someone down in the south. We've got somebody up in what's going to be the Great White North before too long, and somebody headed out here to the West Coast, Best Coast. So I love it, man. I love it when we're covering so much ground out here. But reason I wanted to bring you guys on today, you guys kind of volunteered for this, put your hands up and said, hey, I want to come on the Halloween episode. So here you are. And I was on the phone with Donut just the other day, and I was kind of just lining out what we were going to talk about, and I said a lot like I said off the top. It can be about anything that's kind of the spooky season. And Donut, you said something to me that totally cued me into like, we're going to this and we're going to this off the top because I got to know. Talk to me about your kind of closet obsession with Bigfoot.
Okay. Well, it started when I was a kid. I love Bigfoot. I love everything Bigfoot. If they're out there, I want to see one. I have two really close people who say they've seen one on like camping trips and stuff. And when I lived up in Minnesota, me and a buddy used to actually go squatching. We'd spend whole weeks out in the woods and stuff, trying to hear something, trying to see something. I don't know if they're there, but if they are, I want to see one.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think everybody wants to see one. I'm just picturing you and your buddy just banging on sticks and yelling into the darkness on the side of a mountain somewhere in Minnesota right now. So you said two people close to you think that they've seen one.
Yeah.
Obviously, those two people believe in them. Do you believe their stories is what I'll ask.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't there, and it really wasn't that long ago. One was out in North Carolina, and one was actually in Arkansas, where she grew up.
Okay, and we already talked about Arkansas being kind of a scary place from time to time, so that adds up. I kind of live out. I kind of live out here in what is wildly considered Bigfoot country in the Pacific Northwest. We get a lot of sightings. There's a lot of lore around it out here. The local like minor league baseball team, they're called the Emeralds, but their mascot is the Bigfoot, and I think they call him Sasquatch or something like that. But I'm kind of like that. It's like Ghost Adventures for me. Like I watch Ghost Adventures because one day I'm hoping that I'm going to see something that really changes my perspective. But at this point, it's like Aliens for me too. It's like, I don't know. There's some evidence out there. Maybe it's there, maybe it's not. I kind of want to hear from Mike and Drew and see what they think. Mike, we'll go to you first. Are you a Bigfoot believer?
First of all, let's get this straight. There is aliens, okay? There is aliens. Second of all, yes, there is Bigfoot. There's not just one. There's multiple of them out around the United States and probably out around the world.
So you are a firm believer, not just like Donut is saying, hey, if it's out there, I want to see it, but I don't really know. You're of the mindset that it absolutely is a real thing.
Dude, I've seen too many videos. I've heard too many stories. Yeah. They're definitely out there.
that is the one thing I'll say is all the hunting I've done in my life and all the times I've been out in the woods by myself, possibly miles away from the next human, I've heard some shit. I've heard some weird things out in the woods, and that doesn't mean that it couldn't have been just like an angry bear or like a rabid raccoon or something like that. But it still didn't sound like anything I've ever heard before. And some of these stories, I see people like get stuff thrown at them. Like when I see like the videos where something will go across in front of the camera and they'll be like, "What was that?" Something just threw a rock. I expect to see Johnny Knoxville and the Jackass crew in the bushes when they turn the camera. But you never do, right? So, look, I see where you're coming from there, Mike. Drew, how about you? Bigfoot guy or no?
Oh, definitely. Bigfoot is definitely out there. That's why they try to squash the story every time it's brought up, or anyone actually has like real evidence they try to post online. It hurries up and gets taken down or something. Yeah, all of it. Oh yeah. And when my grandparents lived out in Oregon, me and a couple of my cousins, everything, we go camping out there in the mountains, and we've gone out hunting for a Sasquatch, plenty of times. So, oh yeah, he's definitely out there somewhere.
Damn, I feel like you three need to link up on a 34 sometime and go beat this thing out of the brush, man. I want to see it. You guys seem dedicated.
Yeah.
Look, I have been listening to this podcast, Mr. Ballin, and too many times people have gone out in the woods and not came back. So, yeah, if I'm going out in the woods, I'm definitely going out with a posse.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to use the buddy system, man. It's like swimming after you've drank a beer or two. It's like, don't go out there by yourself. You might just never come back. And that is part of the lore of it, right? Is that some people have probably gone out there and met unfortunate ends. Maybe they slipped and fell off a hill, or maybe a bear or maybe a Sasquatch got them. And that just becomes part of the tale. And that's why it's so compelling. It's like, hey, I mean, there's stories out there. And the other fun part about this, you guys, is that there's people listening to this right now that are like, these four idiots. And that's what I kind of love about it.
Yes.
I kind of love that about it. I want you to think, because it's like I'm playing poker with you. You don't know what I'm going to do next. Do I believe in aliens? Maybe. I don't know. So, okay, well, that's cool. So we've got the Bigfoot thing out of the way. We kind of understand where we all stand on that. And I think that's a good icebreaker to those of you listening, wondering where we are here. Because, look, I've never been a type of guy that said anything paranormal that I'm just like, no, I don't believe it. It's the same way with me and, like, various religions that I hear and I listen to their history and think, okay, I think there's probably a little bit of conjecture and there's probably some truth in there. That's enough for me to just stay on the line. Like, kind of like you were saying, Donut, like, I'm just going to hang out and wait. I'm not probably going to be the guy out there in the bush. Because with my hunting background, you guys, if I saw it, I'd probably just get buck fever and shoot it. And I don't know that solves anything. What would you do if you found one out there, Donut? I mean, you've been out there actually squatching before. Like, what was the plan should he walk out of the bushes and be like, what's good?
I didn't get the nerve to do it until one time my buddy and I, we were hiking the Cannon Valley Trails in Minnesota, and a wolf ran out in front of me.
That's scary. And I've had that happen. It's unsettling.
I was looking at it, and it dropped and came forward and bared its teeth, and I have a good enough fascination with wolves to know that if you cower, you run, you're being eaten.
Yeah.
Or at least maimed. I had no weapons on me. I was complete. I had a little buck knife, but that'll get one. Where there's one, there's more.
Right.
And so I hunkered down and bared my teeth. It flicked its tongue. I did. It tried to get big. I got bigger. Eventually, it dropped its head, turned and ran off. And I'm like, I can't believe that just happened. And then I saw two more on one side of me and two more on another side of me running after it. And I'm like, I was just being hunted.
Wow. So
like, I didn't take one. I took 5. I need clean pants.
So
hey, that's a good approach for some wolves, but I don't think that approach would work with a Sasquatch.
Yeah, what if he just grabs you by your head? Yeah, he's gonna fling you into orbit. He's just gonna grab you by your head and flip you into the sky, right?
Yeah. Well, they're obviously intelligent to a point, and very simian-like. And I know gorillas, if you drop your eyes and show respect, they leave you the hell alone.
Okay,
So
so you're gonna
that was my
approach this.
plan.
You're gonna approach this thing like you just met a foreign dignitary at the mall, like a firm handshake and then nothing but respect.
Yeah, dropping kowtow and feel like, yes, sir.
Well, what if it takes you back into its cave and makes a man out of you? I mean,
Oh boy.
Look, if I survive, I got stories.
hey, that's true. That's true. Ain't gonna be one person that's gonna believe him, but you got stories. that's for true.
I have never cared if people believe me or not. I know what I know, and I love it.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it, man. Well, okay, so I'm going to pose the same question to you, Drew. You come across Sasquatch in the woods. Let's say you're armed. What are you doing? Are you going to just try to observe? Are you going to take a crack at this thing? Are you going to pee a ring around yourself and run down the hill like I would? What are you going to do?
One of my favorite commercials ever was Jack Link's messing with Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So I think I would have to mess with Sasquatch just a little bit, just to fill my craving for, wanting to be able to do that so bad. Because I don't know.
Okay.
But then after that, I'd probably just, if I mess with him too much, he'd probably chase me down or throw me against a tree or something. But if not, I'd have to sit back and just observe and absorb it just for myself. And
Yeah, just get quiet, get hidden, maybe just take up that kind of observer standpoint. I like that. How about you, Mike? What's up if you see Sasquatch in the woods, man?
Well, I don't know, man. Maybe act like a tree. Maybe go up to him and link arms and skip through the forest. I don't know, man. I'd probably paralyzed in fear at that point, and excitement and all that, knowing that I'd actually seen one. But yeah, I don't know. But I would definitely be armed. So if he tried to do anything, I'd definitely shoot him.
Yeah.
That's all I can really say, man. I don't.
Could you
I'd
live
be
with?
scared for sure.
Could you live with the fame of being the first guy that killed a Bigfoot?
No.
Yeah,
No,
I
would
think
feel
so.
horrible.
Yeah, you'd probably dig a hole and bury it right there, right? Take a picture.
Yeah, I wouldn't tell anybody.
Kind of something I always think about with that. If it ever does happen, if they are real and it ever does happen, there's going to be one guy that's got to answer some tough questions. And I mean, I'm talking way harder than these election year questions we're seeing in the media right now. Like, they're going to grill this guy. So, all right, fellas. Well, let's move on here a little bit. I've got a few other things I want to ask you guys about. And I think that when we're doing a paranormal Halloween themed episode on a trucking podcast, everybody's mind's going to go to the same place. So I want to talk a little bit here about haunted highways. And I've got an article here that has a bunch of haunted roads on it, but they're all kind of like, a bunch of them are residential streets, to be honest with you, or they're a street that drives by like a cemetery or something. I don't see you guys finding your tanks too often on those roads, but there are a couple of highways on this list that I wanted to ask you guys if you've ever driven down before, and also see if you have any roads that you want to nominate as kind of, hey, this sucker's haunted. I know what I felt when I was out there. So we'll get to that in a second. But the first one here, out on Old Route 66, Villa Ridge, Missouri. It says here, the Tri-County truck stop located off historic Route 66 in Villa Ridge has long been abandoned, but ghost hunters from all over the U.S. continue to visit with hopes of experiencing paranormal activity. According to the article by Commercial Truck Trader, quote, visiting mediums have suggested the truck stop is a portal to the other side of eternity, where souls re-enter our world and attach their spirits to truck drivers whom they might possess in order to drive themselves home. Have you, Drew, ever spent any time on Route 66 out by Villa Ridge, Missouri?
No, not out there. My time on Route 66 is probably more down Arizona area. Honestly, I think there's plenty of places that's along Route 66 that are probably the same, honestly, because, there's a lot of abandoned places along there, because it's the old road out west. And when the interstate started coming up, a lot of places just got abandoned on there. So I'm sure that's not the only place.
Yeah, no, it's kind of lost to history for sure, and I'm sure there's a bunch of these places out there. I bet you driving all that you can on Route 66, like the still operable areas, it's probably like a ghost hunter's dream down through there? Because I imagine there's a ton of abandoned buildings and shit that you could scare yourself by walking into after dark. Mike, have you ever been out there on Route 66 in Missouri where this is talking about?
I haven't. I live in Missouri, and Route 66 goes straight through Springfield, Missouri, where I live. I don't think I've ever been out there recognizing the name of the town or the abandoned truck stop. And there may have been some point in time where I passed it, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Okay, so nothing too scary out there right in your backyard, it sounds like. How about you, Donut? Any Route 66 ghost stories come across your dash?
Like they said, I haven't really spent a lot of time over there, like mostly Arizona way.
Yeah, out west a little bit. Okay, cool. Well,
yeah.
Rather than going through all of these here, I think it's more important for me to just ask you guys what you've seen. The only other one that might be kind of close to what you guys are talking about is what used to be called Route 666 in New Mexico. It's now U.S. Route 491. It was colloquially referred to as the Devil's Highway for two reasons. One, obviously the number 666, and there was a high number of fatalities that have occurred along the particular stretch that they're talking about. And also several drivers have reported being chased by hellhounds out there. So you're not going to find me on Route 666 in New Mexico anytime soon. But let's go ahead and talk about it. Donut, do you have any places that you'd kind of rather not drive like late at night, or have you ever been on a dark, desolate highway and seen something that really freaked you out or anything like that?
I don't know if it's the same highway in New Mexico, but there's a highway that goes straight like dead center of a reservation, and there's this huge hill. And more than once when I've been going through and going down it, I'll see like eye shine in the middle of the road, like something's running towards the truck, especially at night. And as I'm getting closer to it, I'm like, I'm going to hit this thing, or this thing's going to hit me. And I slow down, and I'm trying to slow down. And then as soon as I get right to it, nothing's there. I don't hit anything, nothing. Just spook the crap out of me.
What in the hell is the standard operating procedure for that scenario? Do they cover that in orientation?
Hit it. Hit it.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, so New Mexico kind of sounds like a scary place.
I've tried to reason it away 100 times. Like maybe it was two reflectors in the road. Maybe it was this or that. I'm like, but no, I saw it up like halfway up the tree. It wasn't on the road. So,
God, that's terrifying.
What was it?
I don't know.
I talked to a guy at the truck stop, and he was a little hesitant. He's like, yeah, they see that out there.
That's
okay,
his answer. Like, oh, we see it out there. Yeah, we don't know what it is. It's just spirits.
Well, they refuse to say the name.
Oh, okay.
In a lot of native traditions, there's some spooky stuff. You don't say its name because you'll get its attention.
Okay, I see that. Yeah, absolutely. I've heard. Well, you hear about the the folklore behind Native American burial grounds and things like that, and people having these terrible possessions and hauntings from disrespecting a gravesite or something like that, or disrespecting an artifact. I don't want anything to do with it. I will gladly not speak the name, and I'm glad you didn't say it, because then I didn't have to hear it and think about it later. Because that's kind of where I am with it, too. Like, hey, I'm interested in this stuff. I want to learn about it. I'm also a giant wuss when it comes to this type of stuff. Like, it terrifies me. I went to Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum in Vegas, and I was uncomfortable the whole goddamn time. Like, it was cool to see all that stuff, but I'm standing there looking at, like, the shirt that Charles Manson died in, and I feel ill. I just don't get it, and that's kind of why I tend to be more of a believer in this stuff, or at least open to the idea that it might be real than not, is because it, like, when I've had scenarios like that, or I've heard something in the woods that's really freaked me out, I feel like almost sick inside, which is not a feeling I really get any other time. And I wonder, Donut, if that's kind of the feeling that you get when you see those eye shine out there and there's nothing there.
Yeah, it was certainly unsettling. I actually have a buddy who wants to take me ghost hunting at the Conjuring House, so that should be fun.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you could find me at the Motel 6 down the street, and that's about as close as I'll be. God damn, that sounds terrifying. How about you, Mike? Anything out there happen to you on the road that's kind of spun your head around a little bit?
Not really. And the only places that I get really, truly creeped out when driving is the back roads of Montana, man, because it's just like pitch black, and, when you're at night,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just nothing out there, and you're just like, you just kind of get those goosebumps and kind of just like, I really hope that I get off these back roads soon. Because you're just like, there needs to be light, and but there's not any. There's no street lights, nothing like that. It's just pure black darkness. Sometimes I want to pull over and get out and look at the sky so I can see all the stars. And I'm like, hell no, dude, I ain't getting out right now. I don't know what the hell's out here.
Yeah, you get a grizzly bear coming by for a quick chat or something like that. I don't actually know if there's grizzlies in Montana, but either way, there's a lot of scary shit out there. And it's interesting what you say, too. When you get to a place like Montana, or I think about back home where I grew up in Northeast Oregon, there's no cities out there, so there's no light pollution. You don't get this bleed over from a big metropolitan area that kind of ambiently lights up the area around you. It is completely black. If you shut off all the lights in your truck, you might not be able to see 10 feet in front of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's scary.
It's scary out there. Well, Drew, I know that you've told us a story on this podcast before. I think our Halloween episode last year about some freaky shit that's happened to you out there on the road. So I know you got stories.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I've experienced the infamous trucker's black dog already, and that's pretty much old trucker lore. If see your black dog, to pretty much get off the interstate and get home as soon as possible, get out of the truck, kind of thing, because it's it's kind of like a foretelling that something bad is coming.
Like an omen.
Yeah, an omen, exactly. And that happened to me when I was coming back from Washington off the coast, hauling fish oil back to Iowa and out in Montana. And, it was a solid month of back and forth out west and back to the Midwest and everything, and a lot of nighttime driving, and it looked like a person standing on the side of the highway. And this is a 2-lane highway out in the middle of nowhere, Montana. And I thought, okay, whatever, it's just the headlights playing tricks on me or whatever. Every couple of miles, I kept seeing it. And right then and there, I knew. I was all like, yeah, there's something definitely going on. And next town I pulled up into, there was no truck area, no anywhere for me to park. And I literally just pulled off the road in front of the main street businesses and stopped. And the next day I called my dispatcher and I was like, hey, I'm going to take this load and get it, where it got to go, but I'm going to take a couple days off of work. And I did, because, I'm kind of superficial, with that stuff. And yeah, so I think I might have skipped something bad happening just by going home after that one.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. And I have superstitions written down as something I wanted to ask you guys about in this conversation, but that I am a little superstitious, I'll be honest with you, okay? Like I don't shave during hunting season, like little things like that. Just try to up the luck a little bit, but when you have that like bad feeling, especially when it's something almost kind of paranormal or unknown, yeah, man, I don't know if I could continue driving either. I think I would probably want the time off as well. Did anything weird happen after that when the trip into Iowa with the fish oil, or after you got home, you took a couple days off? Was there anything out of whack or anything like that you noticed?
Well, it was during wintertime, and when I came out of Washington and into Idaho, I had a snowstorm, and right when you get into Idaho, there's a scout house, and I stopped there, and the snowstorm kind of slowed down and kind of hung out there. Then I hurry up and, got up and started going through Montana and everything. And actually, by the time I got out of there, that storm come through, and it was really, really bad over Montana. And I think maybe that was kind of like, don't hang out around here any longer than you have to. Like, hurry up and get out of here kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, that's like one of my biggest fears is driving through the mountains in winter, and it's not because I'm scared of driving in the winter. It's scared of everyone else around me driving in the winter. So
Yeah.
I try to stay out of the mountains during the winter as much as possible. But I think that I probably missed out on a pretty bad storm and probably something bad happening out there with that happening.
Dude, nothing says go back to where you came from like apparitions on the side of the road in the middle of the night, right?
Exactly. Yeah, middle of the night, middle of nowhere, where no one should be at all.
Right.
Here's a shadow dude just standing here,
So how about superstitions? Mike, do you have any superstitions? You carry around a lucky rabbit's foot, you knock on wood for good luck, anything like that?
Well, from the famous words of Michael Scott, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
Just a little stitious. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
No, not too many superstitions. There is a couple that my wife, she is like one of those people that's into spiritual stuff. And so she went to one of these spiritual festivals in Oklahoma. It was in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And she talked to a psychic or whatever. And the psychic was on point about everything. Me, my kids, my wife's grandpa who passed away before I got to meet him. But she said that my wife's grandpa knew me and, was watching me and was really impressed with me and how I was taking care of my family. And he'll come in the form of a hawk when he wants to present himself. And so the psychic also said that anytime a hawk, it's like I'm driving on the road and a hawk dives in front of my truck, like swoops down to be on the lookout. There might be something ahead or, something like that. So anytime I see a hawk, I'm always looking at it. And, if it's just chilling, like there's been a couple times where a hawk has landed on our back fence, which is really rare, and will just sit there and look at me. I'm like, dude, that's pretty awesome. But anytime I see a hawk swoop down like that, I'm always like, oh, it's going to happen.
Yeah, you've got your senses heightened there a little bit. I get that, man. I totally get that. It's kind of funny that you bring that up. My wife's I guess it would be my father-in-law, my wife's dad passed away shortly after we started dating of pretty aggressive cancer, and they've always thought that it was hummingbirds whenever a hummingbird comes around because Phil, her dad, had a tattoo of a hummingbird. And we don't see hummingbirds around here very often, and I don't have any feeders or anything, but every now and then a hummingbird will just drop by and chill for a little bit. And it's always something that I think about, like, man, I never feel like it's a bad omen by any means. I always feel like it's good. I feel like he's always showing up just to be there, but I totally resonate with that, man. It's something that I really do believe in. I believe our loved ones find a way. I don't know what the science is behind it, but that's kind of where my mindset is. How about you, Donut? Any superstitions? Are you a little stitious? Are you big superstitious? What about you?
I'm superstitious. I come from a fairly mixed race family with a lot of Native American, and on my father's side, my great aunt is actually a shaman for the Cherokee tribe of the Wolf in Oklahoma.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah, I'm fairly superstitious. She's always told me to follow the ravens. So like anytime I see a raven like flying over or whatever, I'm usually going that direction, and it usually leads me to something good, because in nature wolves actually follow ravens as like hunting birds.
Mm-hmm.
They'll hunt down a large animal, and then the ravens will take it what's left.
Right. Interesting. So here's my dilemma with that, is that I can never tell the difference between a raven and a crow, and I think even trying to follow the good shaman's advice, I would follow a crow and probably get hit by a car or something like that. It's kind of the luck I have, to be honest with you, and maybe I should get better at identifying the difference between ravens and crows, because you don't hear too many people tell you to follow the crows. Those mostly lead you to the garbage dump. So at least in my experience. Only a couple more things here for you guys. Donut, I did want to talk to you. There's a big family aspect that comes around with Halloween. I know you guys all have loved ones back at home. So talk to me a little bit. Are you going to get to spend Halloween with the family? Do you put up a bunch of decorations at the house? Do you trick or treat? What's it look like during Halloween at Donut's house?
No, I don't think I'm home this Halloween, but we decorate. In my house, there are Halloween decorations up all year round, but it gets so much worse during spooky season. We have a holiday tree. It gets covered in Nightmare Before Christmas ornaments. It gets covered in bats and pumpkins and spider webs and orange lights, and like there's a skeleton sitting in my chair whenever I get home.
So you guys really pull out all the stops at your house then?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And my son, we love to go trick or treating, and he's getting to the point this year he no longer wants to do superheroes. He wants to be a Grim Reaper.
Oh, okay. So he's starting to grow up and get a little bit more dark with it.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be a straight Grim Reaper. He doesn't want to be just a Grim Reaper with the big scythe and anything. He's got himself a Minecraft pickaxe for his life.
Oh, perfect. All right. I get so still a kid at heart. We can see here. He's not growing up on you too much yet. That's funny, man. Well, you said something about it. It sounds like your family likes to have some of the spooky decorations up year round. I'm married to a metalhead that's a tattoo artist, so I totally get it. And whenever I open the room to her studio, it's Halloween in there. That's pretty much year round. So, but we did just get last weekend, man. She pulled out all the stops and went nuts and decorated the front steps of the house and inside. And actually, she has this cool little ornament thing that she bought at like a witch festival type thing, kind of similar to what you were talking about your wife went to. And it's these two dragons that are intertwined, and there's a sword that goes in between the dragons, and it hangs on the wall. Well, yesterday, that son of a bitch fell off the wall when I was home by myself at like 3 p.m. and shattered into a million pieces. And when you're up here in a quiet studio all day, and the dogs haven't barked, and you're just head down working, and all of a sudden something falls off the wall and crashes. Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I keep a Glock up here just in case, and I had it with me because I thought something was coming to get me. That's just how I am. Nothing was coming to get me, but the sword did leave a hole in my hardwood floor, so I am a little peeved about that.
Oh, man.
How about you, Drew? What's Halloween going to look like at your house, man? Are you going to be home for it this year?
I think I am this year. I think I'm going to take some time off. I haven't been home for Halloween for a couple of years, so I think I'm going to go home this year. Kids all love dressing up. We live with family right now. We're trying to find a house of our own to decorate, but we help out the family, decorate and everything and really get into it. And me and the wife and the 2 oldest kids really love going to haunted houses.
Oh, okay.
And we always send our 2 oldest kids in front of us, so that way they get really scared and everything. And I don't know. Maybe it's just my sick, twisted humor, but I don't get scared at haunted houses. I am like laughing and having just a blast.
Oh, I've seen people like that in there, man. You guys.
I love horror. I love everything about it. If someone tries to scare me, I'm cracking up and having a good old time with it. I don't know. My wife says I have a sick, twisted humor when it comes to getting scared and everything. So, and we watch, whenever I'm at home, we always do kind of scary movie night, and we watch some of the scariest movies always from old school to new school. So, and I love all of it.
I've seen you laughers in those haunted houses before, and I am not like you. In fact, I went to the Walking Dead haunted house in Universal Studios, and I called a zombie a son of a bitch really loud. Don't scare me. I'm sorry. I know that I signed up for this, but at the same time, I'm kind of angry at myself that I did. So I'm like not the most fun to have at haunted houses because I already said it. I'm a bit of a wuss where that stuff's concerned, but I know there's people out there like you. My wife and you and your wife would have a great time together while I played Xbox in a different room, and you guys watched your sick and twisted horror movies. She gets 4 of them a year from me, Drew. I'll watch one per week in October. But even this year, I've gone ahead and turned that over. She didn't ask, and so I didn't offer. And right now, I'm sitting at 9 days through October as we sit, and I haven't watched one yet. So I'm doing good. I'm feeling good
Right
about
on, man.
this.
Well, I also think that it comes from when my birthday is. My birthday's on the 21st, so I've already got the spooky in my blood.
You do. You're one of those harvest children for sure. Crawls out of the fields in the middle of October and starts scaring everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's where you can find me.
All right, Mike. How about you, man? What's the family like to get into around Halloween? Are you going to be home for it this year, you think?
Probably not. We love Halloween. We love October because, it's fall time, and fall is, our favorite season, mainly because of Halloween. My wife is head over heels in love with Halloween. It's her absolute favorite. She's a big horror movie buff. She loves horror movies. I love horror movies too. And anytime she's like, hey, you want to watch a movie tonight? It's not where I get to pick what kind of action movie we want to watch or anything like that. It's always a scary movie.
Yeah.
And if it's not like a scary movie that has just come out or it's been in the theaters, we'll watch a B-rated scary movie. We'll dig in the bottom of the bucket to watch some scary movies. And we're like, this is stupid as hell. We'll still watch it. But yeah, she loves Halloween. We have our entire house decorated, of course, and we still have things that we got to put up. But the last 5 years, we live in a cul-de-sac, so usually we do a potluck, Halloween potluck. I'll smoke some meats and smoke some meatloaf, do some meatloaf, smoke mac and cheese and stuff like that, and we'll have a little bonfire and pass out candy, and then a couple of the adults take the kids out trick-or-treating and stuff like that, and the guys will just hang back and
drink
chill
beer
out,
and look at the fire. Yeah, right?
Yeah. But yeah, we love it. I do actually have some spooky that happened at one of our parties, if you want to hear that real quick.
Yeah, why not?
All right, so my mom passed away 6 years ago, right? And me and my mom weren't super close, but she always said that she would always be with me. So, I always kind of took that to heart. And ever since she's passed away, there's been certain times where, I'll be laying in bed and I will feel the bed, on the corner, kind of pressed down a little bit, like somebody's sitting there. There's been a couple times where I've heard her say my name, whispered in my ear, and I turn around, nobody's there. Oh, this one Halloween, I was out getting food ready and everything like that. And kids were out having a good time. It's really loud out there. Kids are screaming. And I just hear that, Michael. And, I spin around real quick to see if it was my wife maybe or somebody near me, and nobody was there. But it was clear as day. It was my mom's voice. And since that day, I haven't heard it again. It's been really weird.
Wow, dude, that's crazy. I've never had an experience like that. And so, I think on one hand, it's cool because it sounds like your mom and you feel like that's your mom touching base. But at the same time, the last time you heard it sounds like it was a little bit more unsettling than the other times you'd experienced it.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't more of a sweet Michael, like my mom would do. It was more like a frantic.
Yeah, get your ass back here. You're in trouble type of thing.
Yeah. What the hell are you doing, dude?
I get that. And listen, we were all boys here at one point in time, so we all have that instinct in our head that when we hear our names said in a certain tone of voice, it locks your spine up, man. It's amazing how that works. All you have to do is aggressively call me Mark, and I will just fold to you, whatever you want, as long as you don't ground me and take away my PlayStation,
Yeah, mine was cowering and covering my ass, running away from my mom.
There you go, man. There you go. Well, listen, fellas, I've had you on here for almost 45 minutes. I want to let you all get back to it. I really appreciate the time. As always, though, want to make some room for some final thoughts. Anything you guys want to say if your families are listening, or if you want to wish anybody happy Halloween, or just a message to the drivers that might be listening, the floor is yours. We'll start with you, Drew.
Yeah, just everyone stay spooky out there and have fun this Halloween and stay safe.
Thank you, Drew Hearn. Appreciate the time as always, man. We'll get you back on here soon. Donut, we'll go to you. Final thoughts before we let you go.
He already stole my line, but happy Halloween, everybody. I hope you have a good holiday.
Yeah, typically we'll say stay safe out there, but today we're staying safe, or we're saying stay spooky out there. I like it.
Yep.
Donut, Michael Duncan, as some people know you, thank you so much for being on here again. We always appreciate the time. And finally, Mike Stanfield, final thoughts from you, my friend.
Yeah, stay spooky, have a good Halloween, stay safe, and hey, don't forget to vote November.
Absolutely. Don't forget to go out and vote. And if you're looking for Mike, Drew, Donut, and I, we'll be on the side of the hill whacking a tree with a stick and yelling at Sasquatch until he brings his ass out here so we can see him. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Stay spooky out there. Stay safe as well. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Marcus.
Thanks, Marcus. Thanks.
Great stuff there from Donut, Mike, and Drew. Appreciate those guys coming on to share their stories and kind of their MO around Halloween with us. It's always fun, man. Whenever I get a group of drivers, 2, 3, or more drivers on the phone, I always end up coming out of that interview and the back of my neck is just a little bit sore because I've been laughing so hard. I've been like tensed up and my chin's up in the air and I'm, but it's fun. I really enjoy it, man. I still can't believe that this is my job. And so thanks again to Drew, Mike, and Donut there for coming along with me and having some fun here on our Halloween episode. I don't know, man. Would I go Bigfooting? You bet your ass I would. Do I expect to find anything? I don't really think so. But like I said, I've heard some weird stuff out there in the woods when I've been by myself. And is that my mind playing tricks on me? Or is it, like an 8-foot-tall gorilla person? It could be either one. One thing's for sure. There's no proof either way at this point. It's hard to prove they don't exist other than the fact that nobody has one yet, like hanging on their wall. So maybe that is the proof. I'm not going to discuss it any further. Really enjoyed having those guys on for our Halloween conversation. Let's get into this article here. I've actually got this coming out of Fox News. The article is titled, "Serial Killers Hide as Long-Haul Truckers to Terrorize America's Highways," expert says. Now, expert says, I feel like is kind of the operative term here. I want you guys to know before I get into reading this article, I know plenty of truck drivers, and precisely 0 of them are serial killers. In fact, I have this sneaking feeling that most of the ones that I know would help out in any kind of situation like is being described here. But let's go ahead and read this since it's our Halloween episode, and this deals with serial killers and truck drivers. Hey, seems like a pretty good article to read. So here's what it says. Serial killers could be working as long-haul truck drivers in the United States. The FBI launched its Highway Serial Killings Initiative back in 2009 after analysts noticed a pattern of murdered women, most living transient lifestyles involving drug abuse and prostitution, who had been killed and dumped along the Interstate 40 corridor in Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, and Mississippi, according to its website. Using the Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, which is a national database between law enforcement branches that contains info on homicides, sexual assaults, missing people, and unidentified human remains, analysis amassed a list of hundreds of victims along highways nationwide and hundreds of suspects, predominantly long-haul truck drivers. Interesting. Now, they also have an infographic here where there's a red blip on a map of the United States that has the freeways overlaid. The map shows more than 500 cases in the FBI's Highway Serial Killings Initiative's database. Red dots mark where bodies or remains have been found along the highways over the past 30 years. And I got to be honest with you, Out in the Midwest, kind of. Actually, Nebraska is one state that's like there's some dots around Omaha, but besides that, Nebraska's clear. South Dakota's pretty much clear. There's one in North Dakota. But as you move east, good God, what is happening out there? Texas and Oklahoma, it got weird. Mississippi, yeah, absolutely. Tennessee, there's some murders. Georgia, Atlanta, yeah, Philadelphia, New York, wow. Chicago, okay, let's settle down with the murders. There's a lot of them on this map. I am going to interject a little bit of my own opinion here because, well, I'm the host of the podcast and I get to do such things. I feel like it, and look, I haven't poured over all the analysis, so remember that this is at best an uninformed opinion. But just because highways are where you're finding these bodies doesn't mean that truck drivers are the ones killing them. I would venture a guess that a highway with a bar ditch next to it is probably attractive for any serial killer. I don't care if you're driving a Freightliner or a Volvo or if you're in like a Honda Fit, okay? If you're weird and you're going to kill people, you're going to look for a place where you can put them where nobody's going to find them. And a nice desolate stretch of highway is probably a good candidate for that, much like rivers and oceans and lakes and all the rest of the places that they find human remains. But I digress. Let's continue here and hear a little bit from the author of this new book. His name is Frank Figliuzzi. He's a former assistant director of the FBI who spent 25 years with the agency. He released a book this year on the subject, again, called Long Haul, Hunting the Highway Serial Killers. In the book, he writes that there have been approximately 850 murders along America's highways since 1980, and that about 200 of them remain unsolved. I like to hear that. Look, we're more than 75% solved on these cases. Listen, these are murders, so this is very serious stuff here. But a 75% closure rate on these cases, so long as they caught the person that actually did it, I feel like is a pretty good number. Here's a quote. Oftentimes, the people who are at the highest risk for being kidnapped or harmed by a serial killer are the people who are the most invisible, the least likely to have connections to their families, and may or may not have a trafficker, said Dominique Rowe Sepowitz, the director of the Arizona State University's Office of Sex Trafficking Intervention Research. That was a mouthful. Here's more from the quote. The casual reference to a woman selling sex at a truck stop along the interstate highways is a lot lizard. They're often very transient and often suffer from substance abuse disorders. They are very likely not to be missed and easily lured in a truck by a driver with some money. It's a low level of screening and a low level of personal safety, close quote. There are between 300,000 and 500,000 long-haul truck drivers in America, according to NPR. Not one that will go to NPR to get my news. I have trouble not falling asleep the minute the radio dial finds an NPR station, but that's just me. The majority of the 300,000 to 500,000 are, of course, upstanding civilians and workers, and not murderers by any stretch of the imagination, not even anywhere close. And I do hear, when I hear the majority of them, no, NPR or whoever the hell is writing this article, the vast majority. In fact, I'll go one further. The vast, overwhelming majority are upstanding citizens, all right? Yeah, there's a few bad apples in every basket, but let's not start saying that all the bad apples in the truck driver basket are serial killers. I feel like that's a little bit of a wide brushstroke. Once again, just my opinion and me thinking out loud as I'm reading through this article for the 19th time here. Quote, there are 25 long-haul truckers already imprisoned for multiple murders, Figliuzzi told News Nation. There have been cases in the greater Cincinnati and larger Ohio area. This program that they started back in 2009 led to the capture and arrest of suspects believed to be responsible for homicides across the country, according to the FBI's website. A spokesperson with the FBI's National Press Office told Fox News Digital last week that the program is, quote, no more, but did divulge specifics of the program's results or what led to its closure. Excuse me, she didn't divulge any of that. Roe Sepowitz from Arizona State University said the halted program is, quote, just one more cut in a very bleeding situation where women who are vulnerable are simply not being seen. It's one more way that people can take advantage and participate in violence against girls and women. There is no national trafficking, there is no national tracking of traffickers. Without that unit at the FBI level, that interstate level, there is nothing that is connecting these crimes. This is a loss for intelligence. They won't see the patterns because who else is looking for them? The answer is no one. Rose Sipowicz noted that most long-haul truckers are certainly not serial killers or sex traffickers. Thanks for throwing that in there. In fact, one group called Truckers Against Trafficking, that we have definitely talked about on this show before, has trained 235,329 truckers to spot and intervene in human trafficking situations, according to its website. And okay, so let's go by NPR's number on the low side. 300,000 truck drivers, long-haul truck drivers in the United States at the low end. 235,329 of them have been trained by Truckers Against Trafficking. I'm not seeing the connection that this guy is trying to make. Listen, he's an FBI agent. He's been out there in the weeds doing this his whole life and probably has a lot more information than me. Probably, I'll say, because I do feel a little boots on the ground here with truck drivers. Now, to answer your question that I know probably a lot of you are saying, well, Marcus, could you identify it if somebody was a serial killer and they came on the podcast? No, but I like to think I have an okay judge of character, and I haven't picked up serial killer vibes from anybody that we've had on the show here or any of the rest of the drivers that I've talked to. Again, the numbers up into probably the 200s, 300s at this point of different truck drivers that I've interviewed personally. So, listen, I'll probably pick up this book. Actually, I might try to see if I can get it on audiobook on Spotify for free so that I don't have to pay for it, because I don't like the way that this guy is sort of, like I said, painting with a wide brush. Are there probably, yeah, I mean, it seems like it's already a known stat that there's 25 truck drivers in prison right now for murders, okay? You're talking about 800 plus murders out here, and 25 of them were committed by truck drivers. Okay. How many of them were committed by linemen? How many of them were committed by drunk people? How many of them were committed by people that have mental illness? Look, I'm guessing that the number is over 25 for a lot of these, so why aren't we writing a book about that? Would be what I might say if me and Mr. what was his name again? Frank Fuglizzi. If me and old Glizzy had lunch together, if we shared a Pronto pup out on the Oregon coast, maybe I'd say that to him. Might not get the chance. Actually, I'm going to see if I can get this guy on the show. Frank Figluzzi, if you hear this, you need to come on the Liquid Trucking podcast and explain yourself, sir. Now, I wouldn't be that rude to him, but I would ask some questions, and I'll see if maybe this is something that I can get in touch with him on, because I know he's probably out doing a press tour right now and trying to get his face in front of as many people as possible. Maybe it'd be cool to get a truck driver on here with me and talk to the author of this book, the former assistant director of the FBI, and pick his brain a little bit. We'll see if we can make that happen. I'm not sure. I don't want to make any promises. Sometimes these people are really hard to get a hold of. Other times these people are more than happy to do this type of thing. So we'll see what we can find out. But that's going to pretty much put a that's going to put a jack-o'-lantern on our Halloween special here on the Liquid Trucking Podcast. I want to thank, again, Drew Donut and Mike Stanfield for being here. It was a great conversation. Maybe we're going to get a squatching party together. If any of you guys are interested in joining our hypothetical squatching party, send me an email, podcast@liquidtrucking.com. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget, you can catch up on everything podcast related by heading over to liquidtrucking.com and clicking the Start Here button where you see my big head with my cool Liquid Trucking Podcast hat on. Thanks for listening today, everybody. Be safe out there. There's one thing that we didn't talk about in our Halloween episode that I feel like we should, since this is airing one day before all the trick-or-treating and that's going to happen. And that thing is, watch out for children. There's going to be a lot of them out, as always. I know you drivers always have safety on the mind, but if you're anywhere close to a residential area, the day after this podcast airs on Halloween, Thursday, October 31st, just take some extra special care, drive really slow, and make sure to keep your head on a swivel and watch out for all those little ghouls and goblins that are going to be running around with bags full of candy. We appreciate you all click and download on this episode. Don't forget to click subscribe. It will be free for you, and it'll tell you every time we release a new episode, which, of course, as you all know by now, 40-some episodes in, Wednesdays at 5 a.m. Central. I'll see you next week. Happy Halloween to all of you from all of us here at the Liquid Trucking Podcast. Stay safe, drivers, and keep the shiny side up.
Thanks for tuning in and being the gold standard of drivers on the road. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tune in next week for another episode of the Liquid Trucking Podcast.